Kia ora and welcome to Tino Pai Podcast, where we delve into the raw and real stories of individuals navigating life's diverse journeys. From the courageous voices of the queer community to those overcoming addiction, from mental health warriors to frontline heroes shaping our communities. We're here to amplify lived experiences. Join us as we uncover the triumphs, challenges, and resilience of the human spirit. Nau mai, haere mai, and welcome to Tino Pai Podcast.
Kia ora tātou, nau mai, haere mai. Welcome to Tino Pai Podcast. My name is Lee Eklund. I have been part and served the queer community for a number of years and I'm quite connected with a few queer key members of our community that really want to make a change. And today, I want to introduce to you a very special person that I've known for quite a while. And it also identifies as Takatāpui queer wahine. In addition, also has a queer child who is also Māori and also is serving our queer community within the Hot Valley region for Te Ngākau Kahukura or Te Awa Kairangi. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Monique Rei, who is going to be our special guest today. So, kia ora, Monique. How are you today?
Kia ora, Lee. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's a pleasure to have you on here and really want to thank you for being part of this. So I think that to have Monique as a guest to go through the past, present and future, and we feel that will be quite valuable information, particularly for Māori, not only young, but also, all demographics, young and old, to share your story and your journey. So, okay, so where can we start with you, Monique? So let's go back to little Monique. What age did you know that you were Takatāpui?
I guess there's probably like a few stages. If I'm thinking about it, one being where I decided to be my authentic self. But then once that actually happened, looking back, I could see different points of my life in my childhood that potentially I knew then, but just didn't know what it was. I didn't know the name for it or whether there were other people like me, I suppose. So I remember from a very young age, I just had like a lot of guy mates, and I remember my dad's family saying to me, you need to make some friends that are girls, otherwise you're going to turn out like your namesake. And I never really understood what that meant, but as I got older, I come to learn that the person I was named after was lesbian as well.
Really?
And yeah, it wasn't until I started to become who I am today that I realised. I thought growing up that she had the best life. She was getting to live with her best friend, which I thought was awesome. So I guess I was probably about 19 when I first started to look at that side. Up until then, I had boyfriends. I had a son and had just come out of a relationship with a male. So I guess it was a little bit confusing. Yeah, but looking back, I know now that all of these little things through my childhood and teenage years were just indications that, that I was queer.
it's amazing, isn't it, that when you the younger that you are, you always feel as though you're that only person living in that world.
Yeah.
And maybe, but maybe it's different as well for particularly being Māori as well. Not only not knowing many queer people, but not knowing many queer Māori people as well. It sometimes it can be a struggle mentally. So was you supported by, did your whanau support you, or did you, did you feel safe to come out and supported?
So I didn't come out fully until I was, about 25. Up until then, it was just my friends that knew. And even still, it was a very small circle of friends that knew. So when I did decide to come out was actually when I met my wife. And yeah, for the most part, I was supported. My mum cried for like 3 days. She went and had a conversation with my auntie, who I'm named after, and said it was because I was named after her that I turned into a lesbian.
Yeah.
But, she came around. It was just confusing for her to think that I had been in relationships with men and had a child, that how could I just all of a sudden be into women. And it was my best friend that actually went and spoke to her and said that, this had been happening for a while, and for my own personal choices, I didn't feel the need to come out until I had found someone, because I just knew that what it would bring up, my son having to deal with his mum now being a lesbian. There was discussions had on his father's side about what that looked like and what my house, what would be happening at my house, and those conversations coming back from him.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and so for me personally, I wanted to make sure that I had found someone that made me feel loved and secure before I told anyone, pretty much. And there were hard conversations. My son was coming home saying he didn't want to live with a homo, and I'm not his mum anymore. And I kind of, it hurt a lot. And I think out of it, it brought me and my mum closer, because my mum was my support person, the person that I turned to when that was happening, the person that would reassure me that, he didn't know what he was saying. He was just bringing back what he had heard. I guess I did. I felt like I lost a few friends. Whether or not that was the case, I'm not sure. Whether or not that is just, people's lives paths taking different directions. But, my true friends remain. I'm still very, very close with my family. My siblings' kids all call me auntie, and so I think reflecting back on it, I don't think there was any major change within my family dynamic or my close friend dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a mother and coming out, and even your child saying that, I mean, it's a bit of a double one, because you not only have to think about yourself, but you have to think about your son as well. And there's, like you said, there's a lot of stigma and people, this stereotype. But it's interesting, isn't it, that people either do it because they're embarrassed, or it's about image of their self, and they care what other people say, or it goes the other way where they literally do not like that person. It's a personal thing. And I've noticed in my lifetime that a lot of people have done it because it's shame, and it's about what people will think of them instead of the love of their own child. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously, the way that it's turned out today is that, you're thriving in a beautiful marriage. You've got a beautiful daughter, and also you've got a beautiful son.
Yeah.
Really close to your whānau as well. but we all know that in some cases that there is some really, that's not the case for a lot of people out there. So it is, not everybody gets that sort of way out, because like you said, that you find your friends, but as queer people you do make your own whanau. And it's
chosen whanau.
Chosen whanau, and that's huge within the rainbow community. And I've certainly done that as well over the years, particularly when I come here. So let's span up the centuries, not back in the centuries like Sheer. So you met B, your beautiful wife, and married, and you had another daughter. Is that right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So I met B when
Not another daughter, sorry.
Not
another. I didn't mean that, but you know what I mean.
I don't have an estranged daughter lingering around out there. No, we. I guess when I met B, we took things really, really slowly. We didn't move in together for. I think we were engaged before we actually lived together.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think it was just the way that things worked out. We got engaged, and then we started looking for houses to buy, and the goal there was to find a house not only that would become our home, but one that we could get married in the backyard.
Is this the one you're at now?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is what happened. So we found the house, we got married in the backyard. It was an amazing day. B had all her family there. Her grandmother was even still alive to be able to see that. It was just a really, really beautiful day. And I remember I had like a big birthday there, and reflecting back, and I thought, man, I never thought that I would, one, own a house, two, be married. I was coming from a state where I literally didn't even think I would live to see 21. This is how I was when I was younger. And so being in this secure relationship, happy relationship with what we had achieved together was mind-blowing to me. It took me a wee while to come down from that cloud. And then, not long after that, we decided that we wanted to have a baby. And so this started conversations with people that we knew. B was always going to be the one to carry because I'd already had Aaron. And so we had organised, or we had conversations with a gay couple that were offering to be our donor. And so we went through all the testing to see if we could actually have a baby. And then through that period of time, they broke up. And so they didn't want to be the donor anymore. And so we were back to looking for a donor. And it was just through chance of a friend of ours coming over with her husband, and we were having conversation around the dinner table, and he said, I'll do it. And we were blown away. Like, we'd just met this guy.
It's like,
we just met him. And so,
surreal, isn't it?
We had to say, you need to go and have a conversation together and, see what this looks like for you. But long story short, it went ahead. They lived in a different country, and so they said, if you think it can work, then we'll give it a go. And so we did. We went over to Australia twice to attempt, and they were not successful. We ended up having one miscarriage, which was really, really tough and made us really consider whether or not we wanted to continue on. And then chance had it, they were moving overseas, so decided to come to New Zealand for a few months to hang out with her family, and said, let's give it another go. So we did, and fell pregnant with Marley. So yeah, that was 2.5 years that journey was from start to finish. And it was a roller coaster, but it was so worth it. It was so worth it. Just like, most children, they just bring so much joy to your life and your family, and just add another dynamic and another path to take, I suppose. But yeah, so she's now 7, and
Beautiful little girl, I have to say.
Yeah.
Cheeky little smile.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she is very cheeky, very witty, and she adores Aaron, idolizes him. But yeah,
So it's good. So it's also, give Aaron a sibling as well.
correct.
So it's definitely I suppose completed, really.
Yeah,
A dream that, you said that you was in the clouds where, you got married in the back garden, you got your house that you wanted. It's like you live in the dream, but you can't believe you live in the dream.
yeah, definitely.
But, it's well deserved though, it really is. I get that. So Monique, tell us about your current position, your mahi at the moment, and your position and what you do and what your goals are.
So currently I am working for Te Ngākau Kahukura or Te Awa Kairangi, and the current kaihautū here at Te Whare Kahukura in Epuni. And so just a little bit of background about Te Whare Kahukura. The space was initiated out of feedback from our Living in Colour Pride event 2023. And the feedback was that a physical space was needed for the rainbow community to access health and social services out here in the Hutt Valley, but also without fear and discrimination. And so we jumped at the space when it became available. It used to be an old medical centre, and have slowly been developing it into what it is at the moment. Initially, it was to bring services that only existed in Wellington City out to the Hutt Valley, but it's kind of grown into be a lot more than that. We've currently got a health improvement practitioner here twice a week. We have just employed a counsellor to be here 4 days a week, and currently have an ad out for a support worker to be here as well. And alongside me, we have our taiohi kaimahi Ryan, who's doing our youth development services. And I guess alongside all of that, we have our community wardrobe, which offers gender-affirming clothing to anybody. We have testing being done here by the Burnett Foundation, and also Wellington Sexual Health, who are here once a week. We do art workshops, we've got drop-ins, we've got a queer crafts group and writers group that meet here weekly. We've got antenatal classes, queer antenatal classes coming up shortly.
Wow.
And so it's kind of just, the goal is to take feedback from the community about what is needed or what is wanted at that time, and find a way to have it or deliver it in a space where they feel comfortable. And nothing is certain or permanent, I suppose, and that need is going to change so often. Like if we just look at the community wardrobe, for instance, that came from just a conversation with a 15-year-old. They didn't feel comfortable going in, they're trans, they didn't feel comfortable going into Glassons, trying on clothes, just, that affirmed their gender.
Yeah,
and so
stereotyping again, isn't it? It's stigma again. Yeah, that's
and
huge.
so we just set up a couple of racks. We got donated clothing, and from there it grew into 6 racks of a lot of clothes being donated that it was quite a lot to go through and sort out what might be needed and what wasn't. And that's just loved by all ages. We have, I think, like the oldest person we have that has come in to use the community wardrobe is 62.
Wow.
And the youngest has been 7. So
the demographic there is completely.
Yeah.
I mean, to go from 7-year-old to 60. I mean, how many generations is that?
Yeah. Well, where
It's
else
pretty
can you
special.
get that? Where else can you get that? Most of our services that are delivered are very age specific.
Yeah.
And have, rightfully have criteria that they need to stick to.
Yeah.
And I guess our space is different because we don't have any age criteria. The only criteria we have here is that the people using it are identified somewhere under the rainbow umbrella or are whānau members of a person who does. And I guess that's not offered anywhere else locally that I know of, and has such a wide range. We've had an art wānanga, we've got, we do things through the school holidays.
You get public speak. You get people to come in from different backgrounds, and
Yeah.
also, give us an example of a couple of people that have used this space for those sort of corridor.
We developed a program which we called Intergenerational Kōrero, and the plan was to bring in different people of different ages, ethnicities, backgrounds to come and just share their story, just to give some appreciation to some of the journeys that are out there. Not all journeys are going to be a struggle or are going to be easy, and so it's nice to shed some light on some of those. We have had an older gay man come in and talk about his journey living with HIV. We've had an older trans woman come in and talk about the journey it's taken for her to be who she is today.
Was that the TV program?
Yeah, so Joe Chanel was the person that came in, and they at the same time just happened to be airing a TV show, The Boy, the Queen and Everything in Between.
Yeah.
And so we done the corridor and then the premiere screening of, not the official premiere, but a screening of the TV show. And I guess the importance is to kind of reconnect the generations again, coming through being Māori and not, historically we've not had, we were always ones that would vocally tell stories and pass on our history and our teachings. And I guess that's kind of been lost in today's age where those stories don't get shared from generation to generation, and people are left to go and find out on their own in a book. And I believe it just brings a new appreciation. I mean, the way that it came about was my son, who's gay, was having a conversation with an older gay man who was in his 80s. And this was at a party, and he was sitting there, he sat there for 2 hours listening, and the appreciation he had after that conversation towards my wife and I about the support and love that we show him. And he realised that not everybody had that. No. Not everybody has supported people around them. And so I guess I just wanted to duplicate what was created in that moment and give people a chance to have that conversation in a space that is, that allows them to have it freely and allows them to get it wrong.
Well, so you saw the benefits of, and I agree with this, is that you need to know the past to move forward. And it's also, and I'm a big advocate for letting people know about people that have passed, that have paved the way for us. And it's really crazy to think about even the homosexual law reform was only in 1986.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the younger that you are, you think it's years ago, but it's not really. It's not, so it's about the struggles, the journey of fighting as a community, and also hearing about how close the community was, because they had no one else.
Yeah.
And it really shone a light on how close everyone was and how distant everybody is now, and the importance of keeping together, because at the end of the day, the community changed the law by sticking together.
Yeah, right.
Everybody, like that's everybody. That's even allies, lesbian, queer, the whole rainbow.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was everybody. So it is. I agree that the importance of getting these elder people to speak really opens up, and you noticed that with your son. I remember you talking about that, and then but it's like ideas like this that you could actually implement from here. But also, it's about what I get the gist about Te Ngākau Kahukura, or Te Awa Kairangi. Can't believe I'm stumbling on that because I actually live in Te Awa Kairangi. But yeah, the importance of letting people know how rough it was and how united everybody was as well. But also the things that we didn't have as queer people, particularly for you, Monique, being Māori and queer back then, and having all of these accessible services, like you said, the antenatal. Knowing that there's a service out there for queer people it's okay. You can still be a family, and for people to support that, and this is what Te Ngākau Kahukura is all about, is that it's a space to deliver equity where people are not getting that service through other health services.
Yeah. And definitely, and even just a space for people to come in, see themselves, see people that are like them. I guess coming from, my perspective as a Māori, I didn't know where I would fit into my culture when I came out, so to speak. I didn't know, I was already disconnected from my culture, and personally for me, when I came out, it made me feel even more disconnected. I had an auntie who was lesbian and was part of the family and never, shunned or anything, but I didn't know that Takatāpui existed.
Existed before colonisation.
Yeah, before. Yeah. And so I guess for me, I wish there was people or a space that were around that could tell me that even though you're queer, even though you're wherever you are under the rainbow umbrella, you still are validated and you still have a place in those spaces that you want to be in. I guess I'm still on that journey to find where my space is in my Māoritanga, but I now know that, I'm not alone. There are others, and that I can draw on them when I'm feeling, disconnected but I guess
it's whanau right there.
Yeah, from like a Māori perspective, already being disconnected from your culture through colonisation, that just pushes you even further apart. And I can see how, historically, if we even just look at Wellington, historically people out in the suburbs migrated into Wellington because that's where they found their people in the city. That's where they found their family. And so now, in a time where they don't need to migrate there to just see themselves or see people like them or to find their chosen family, like, that's so beautiful that we can create a space so they don't have to go to another town just to feel validated.
So it's the first. This is why it's been based in Te Awa Kairangi. In the big cities. It's the capital of the country. And usually in big cities, there's services, there's services support. But in the burbs, I guess that there's not that. So I think, like you say, this is the first space to be created within Wellington. And it's about people using this space and all of these queer services using this space, but it's coming to the people, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's certainly an equity approach, because we both know that queer people, particularly trans and non-binary people, do struggle going through to health services that are not queer related. And I get, and I understand that with health services, I'll probably say more want to, but they fear of getting it wrong.
Correct, yeah.
And Te Pai, I get it. I absolutely get it. It's about education, isn't it? But for the meanwhile, we need an equity approach, which this is equity, creating a space for people to use this space until everybody is on par or educated to deal with people to make them feel first-class citizens instead of second-class citizens.
Yeah, and I mean, it's as little as...
It's not stealing everybody's clients. That's not what it's
No,
about.
no,
Absolutely
definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as little as somebody going to the GP and their name is wrong. And then they have to stand there and explain to somebody why they've got a different name on their system and it hasn't
the
been...
health professional.
Yeah, that's not their job.
No.
That's not their job to do that. And so, that's the type of thing that we're trying to narrow down, go to these places or have them come here so that they can ask those questions that they're afraid to ask. And even like parents have said, when, for instance, if they have a trans child, it can take quite a lot for that child to come forward and tell their parents, and the parents are almost having to, catch up very, very quickly to where their child is. Yeah. And they don't want their child to have to be the one to educate them. Yeah. They want to go and find the information so that they can support their child the best way that they can. And so giving them that space where they can come and ask those questions that they're afraid to ask, or get information, the correct information, because there's so much misinformation out there on the internet.
And don't forget the disinformation.
Yeah.
There's both of those out there, really. It's a guessing game, but I mean, you're right.
Yeah, and so I guess even, in our current state here in New Zealand, people are still frightful that, things that we fought against or that people before me fought against are still happening. We've got the rainbow crossings being painted over. We've got people protesting because a drag queen is reading a storybook. Yeah. And so that makes especially our young people frightful to come out and be their authentic self. Because they don't want to be walking down the street alone and somebody just targets them. And even for me, we had a workshop, we thought people would show up there because we were in a public space doing a workshop. Even being this space open for everyone, every day we think, oh no, who's going to show up? Who's going to, it just takes that one person to take a disliking or have a belief that we shouldn't exist, and it just pushes people back into the closet. And that's what the space is here to try and prevent, to educate those people. That's okay, you can have different beliefs, you can have a difference of opinion, but that doesn't give the right for you to say that somebody shouldn't exist. And
it's a personal preference, isn't it? Yeah,
that's right.
We all have different values,
and I have that in my own family.
Opinion, but when you try to persuade others to have that opinion as well, it's forcing that sort of belief onto others when they don't necessarily believe it themselves. And that's been an ongoing fight, really, I guess, for the rainbow community, isn't it? It's we're human.
Yeah.
We're first class citizens, the same as everything else, and that's why I think to engage with rainbow communities. It's the same for Māori and Pacifica and the disabled community, is that you can't just go into these communities and go, right, I'll do this. It's like you need to create a relationship. It's whakapapa without a shadow of a doubt. And people wonder why that, I guess that, why taking so long? Because you need to earn trust and respect.
Yeah.
Because with, all of the communities and that I've mentioned it's been rough. Very weary. That's what it is. It's like, it's not easily forgotten about. It's like, you have to prove that we can trust you, prove that we can respect you, and need to get it back.
And because historically services for this community have popped up, and for whatever reason, not stuck around.
Yeah.
And so it is hard for a community that is underserved to put their trust in a space or people or a group out of fear that, they're going to go in wholeheartedly and then they're not going to be around in 3 months' time.
Exactly.
And that's, for whatever reason. So I definitely understand, if people are reluctant to use a service or just don't even know how to go about using a service. This space has been really, really good for those that are local, that are looking for a space.
Yeah.
But we still have a large number of people that haven't been here and, could benefit from being here. We could benefit from having their feedback.
Yeah.
Because we try to do everything by the people, for the people.
Yeah, it's not about us.
Yeah, it's not about us.
It's not about me. It's about, you're right.
We want to create what they need, what you need, what is wanted, not what I think should be happening. Even though I am a part of the local community, but,
It's
come and tell us.
By the people, for the people. Because, Te Ngākau Kahukura, or Te Awa Kairangi, Te Whare, is a space, for Māori. Well, it is kaupapa Māori.
Yes.
And it is about, letting people know about this space. And I think, personally, that it's not even a year old. And it's coming up to a year old. The birthday's coming up. And I think the impact, I think, is done incredibly well. And like I said before, it is about letting people know about this space. And it takes time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, isn't it? Is that they give it a year, or people that say, but it's not really picking up, which obviously it really is because of the services that you've got coming out of here for our people. And then they just completely cut those sort of things. It's like, you need to give it time.
That's right, yeah.
People need to know that we're here, and I think that it is loud and clear because you've got people from this community that know about this and key people that are letting people know about it.
Yeah.
So it's just going to grow, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So what would you think that what do you want to see? Let's go to the future now. So what would you want from Te Ngākau? Actually, yeah. What's the goal?
For the space?
Yeah.
I guess for it to be operating sustainably, would be the one. Because, the funding's always going to change. Funding is always going to go up and down. And relying on, particular funding is not really sustainable. So I think that's one thing. More people using the service. But also, for me, I see the younger people that are using the service in years to come being the ones that are running the service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I personally just see my footprint in this space as initially setting it up, getting some momentum, making those key connections. And then, it would be beautiful if the young ones that are here today were the ones that are running the show tomorrow. that would just be...
like a legacy being passed on.
Yeah, not only that, I think, you know, to stay relevant, you can't have a 60-year-old person trying to run a program for youth.
It's because you're right. Society's changing that
Yeah.
fast, right?
Yeah.
And this is another thing as well, is that society's changing that fast and things are changing, that the demographic of age as well, it's really good to have a really good range of ages because there's different trends, there's different languages.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
The acronyms. I remember when the acronyms came out, and the older ones are going, what is LOL, or you know, or
Like I don't feel like I can even relate. My son is 22.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm out of touch with youth. And you know, we have Ryan here who's more connected to that age group.
Yeah.
And you can see the difference in connection.
Yeah.
You know, the young ones that come here, they see me as, you know, mum. And
Fire.
and
Fire
that
mom.
you know, we need those people that are more on the brother, sister, cousin level. You know, there'll always be a place for any age group in the teachings, but I can't relate to rangatahi better than someone closer to their age group could.
Yeah.
I can guide, but so I hope that the young ones of today will be the ones running it. And that all the services provided here are free. That's my biggest hope for here. Sustainability, the young people running it in the future, and everything to still remain free.
It's about finding out what the community need, and like you say, from different backgrounds. And I think that particularly the socially deprived communities around here, like that's a whole new different approach as well. Because if you found out from those sort of communities what they're lacking in, which is obviously a lot, and you know they're very, it's very different. So it's trying to mould this space for all, really.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and you know,
at any given time.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because those, and the most important thing is that it's a free service for people to use, because the barriers that people face.
Yeah.
That is a huge barrier, and it's trying to make it accessible. And you know, and I know the space here that you've got in Epuni, I mean, it is. I believe that the location is just a key location. It's right near the train station. Yeah. You know, it's in the middle of, well, I would say it's central to the hut with, well, not, I suppose, central-ish from the upper hut to lower hut. But at the end of the day, it's a venue in Te Awa Kairangi at the end of the day. Yeah. So it is an accessible service. And obviously it is aimed for people that cannot go to those sort of services within the city region. So yeah, it's about promoting it, getting it out there. But I do believe that what has happened already has been very successful in such a short time. Yeah. This all started from. Did we talk about how it all started? It was a pride event. Was that right, Matariki? I remember because I was hosting as a drag queen that day. So yeah. Amazing to have a little pride event at Matariki through winter, where the ideas span through to getting a support place as well. So not only is it a service for our rainbow community, that it ended up being permanently in a medical space, but also to still continue the sort of pride events, which is in winter, which in the Northern Hemisphere, that's usually when Pride happens. So I guess that it's the only Pride event really, apart from Gay Ski Week, or Winter Pride as they call it. It'll change its name again. You know, to have that sort of celebration, but it's Te Awa Kairangi's celebration in its own area.
Yeah, you know, we've got our fourth one coming up this year.
Do you know the date for that?
It's on the 13th of July at the Dowse Art Museum. Yeah, so everything we do at that particular event It's free for anyone that wants to come. We have entertainment, local queer entertainment. We have kai. We have social services and health services come and share their information. Face painting. We have workshops. There's so
health.
much. Yep, sexual health.
Sexual
I
health
think
tests.
keeping it nice and intimate is a sustainable way to keep it free. Everything that we have there, we want to break down as many barriers as possible. And the cost of coming to an event like this can sometimes be a barrier. You know, you take your kids to an event like this, and they're going to want to buy this from that stall and this from that food truck. And so everything is free. We have hangi, pizza and sushi and sandwiches. Everything is free. And I guess if the event gets any bigger, then that might not be doable. And so I think keeping it the size that it is at the Delsart Museum, right in the centre, we're here, we're not going anywhere, and being able to keep it free.
We're queer.
We're here, we're queer.
But I have to say, acknowledge that, out of all the queer events, and I've worked one every single year for the last 13 years, and I have to say that this is the first Pride event that the kai is, I'm not lying, free. Pizzas, hangi, sushi. I've never known anywhere like it. And for a small Pride event to open in the Hutt Valley really is, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And, and it's a small Pride, like you say, small Pride event. And, funds are quite critical to run a space like this because that's exactly what it's about. So it could easily turn into, it would be a non-for-profit to find some funds, but that's not the case.
No.
It's about making sure that people go here, so you're fighting the barriers of cost so that they can actually come here.
Yeah.
And kai brings people together, and this year was it gets better every year.
I know that some events, the stall holders have to pay to have a stall there.
Yeah.
It's free for them to have a stall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone that comes, everything is paid for.
Yeah. I guess that if it did get bigger, and it needed to be bigger, and I think that it would be. Well, who knows?
Yeah, and we've got these
Who
plans.
knows?
There's plans to have an event in summertime as well.
Yeah.
So that would be coming up next year, early next year. So that'll be the first one of its kind in the Hutt Valley.
Yeah.
And that's going to be just a more of a outside kind of event. But yeah, so there are big plans in the pipeline.
It just keeps delivering.
Yeah.
I have to say, for a very small organisation that it's all about funding, and I know I've seen you with papers flying everywhere. But it's happening, it's still here, and the support from the community has been absolutely overwhelming, and people really do respect and they believe in what Te Ngākau Kahukura is trying to achieve.
Yeah,
and
we have so many of them looking out for us.
Absolutely.
Not just the local businesses around here who have been amazing, but we've got, we just had another organisation come to us and say, have you thought about security for your Pride event? Now, this is in July, and they're already thinking about us and the safety of our people that come. So, other organisations are always thinking about us and working in collaboration. And so the support from not just, the grassroots community, but also the community of organisations and businesses has been very, very, at times, overwhelming. I've been humbled by the feedback and people just turning up, especially on our opening. It was huge, the amount of people that showed up. But, it's been beautiful to watch.
I think it's all down to, I believe, that people really see people really trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly why they would support it. And they know that this is new, and they know that it's just going to get bigger. It's really nice to know that you have got that sort of key community members that really believe in this space as well, and they're leaders in their own right. And this is leaders from other organisations as well, because there's nothing like it at all. Yeah. So I think that is going to be wrapped. Oh, before we go, can you just let us know where Te Ngākau Kahukura or Te Awa Kairangi is located, please?
Yeah, so Te Whare Kahukura is located at 102 Oxford Terrace in Epuni. We're right opposite the Epuni train station next to the dairy.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So, Monique, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you so much for your time through this podcast. I think that for sharing your personal stories, as well as your dreams, going forward for this space, and also to just show that you do care about your people, and trying to make it a better world and a better space for people to be accepted and to get the right of getting a service like everybody else can, but in a different space. So I guess just keep your ears out, whanau, and we want to see you at Pride. When was the Pride event again?
July the 13th.
July the 13th at the Douse.
Yep.
What time will it start usually?
It'll start at 5:30.
Yeah.
And usually runs until 9 o'clock.
5:30 till 9?
Yeah.
So bring your glitz and glamour, your rhinestones, your ruffled skirts. Well, that's all my wardrobe just spoken about, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you again, love. And so let's wrap it up here now. Hopefully that we will be getting another key community member in for another podcast. But we will keep you posted. So
Thank you.
No
Thanks
worries, darling. Nami
Thanks for
nui
listening.
for your time. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tino Pai Podcast. If you've been moved by today's stories and want to stay connected, be sure to subscribe and follow us on your favourite podcast platform. Together, let's continue to honour and celebrate the richness of human experience. Until next time, take care and keep shining your light. Ka kite.